Chapter 13 is about personal selling and sales promotion. Get this presented. Okay. So just to start off, there are 4 objectives of this chapter. If you want to read over those, they are on page 404 of your textbook. And then this next slide is just an overview of the table. It's just a table of contents of what we'll be going over today. So to start, we will be going over personal selling. So the definition of personal selling is personal presentations by the firm's sales force for the purpose of engaging customers, making sales, and building customer relationships. So the people that do sell or do any types of sales go by lots of different names, and so for test purposes, we will be using the term salesperson or salespeople. So some examples are an order taker, and so these are going to be your cashiers at stores, and then you have an order getter, whose position really demands creative selling, social selling, and building relationships. So your sales force has 2 main roles, and so you're going to want them to link the company with the customers. So kind of they're going to be the person for the customers to go to when they have questions. Your sales force also kind of needs to have an open ear when they're around customers, because when customers are giving feedback to them, they can relay it back to management within the company so they can help improve the customer experience and create more revenue. The salespeople also are another role of the sales force is to coordinate marketing and sales, those 2 teams together. So in order to do that, you can increase the communication between the 2 teams. You can arrange meetings to do so between the 2 teams. And then you can also create joint objectives and reward systems for sales and marketing teams. So this will kind of encourage the teams to work together. And the last thing is you can appoint a high-level marketing executive to oversee both marketing and sales. So this will help create common goals for both teams and create more opportunities for the teams to work together. So that takes us to figure 13.1. This, I think, is on page 409. Yes, 409. So these are the major steps in the sales force management. As you can see, number 1 is designing sales force strategy and structure. And steps 2 through 6 are all about salespeople. And so we will dive into each of these steps. So designing the Salesforce strategy. There are 4 types of Salesforce structures. You have territorial, which are when salespeople are assigned to a geographic area and they only sell to that area. Then you have a product Salesforce structure, and that's when your salespeople are specialize in selling only a certain product or only a certain portion of the company's products. And then you have customer sales force structure, and that's when your salespeople are specialized in selling to a certain type of customer or a certain type of industry. And then your complex sales force structure is just a combination of any of those first 3 sales force structures. Then you have types of selling, so you have an outside and an inside sales force. Your outside sales force are salespeople who travel to customers to do selling, and then your inside sales force are salespeople who conduct business from their offices via phone call, social media interactions, or they will actually have buyers come and visit them. Oh, I missed team selling. So team selling is when Here we go. Team selling is when you have teams of people from either sales, marketing, or tech, any type of other department, and they kind of just team together to service large and complex accounts. So this brings us to steps 2 through 6. So you have salespeople. So when you're recruiting and selecting, there are 4 attributes that you can find that are in really good salespeople, and those are intrinsic motivation. They have a disciplined work style. They have a great ability to close a sale, and they have a great ability to build relationships with customers. And so that brings us to training. So trainings can last anywhere from a week to a month or even over a year. And then upon training, you will also have seminars, sales meetings, and online learning to help aid in their training process. And training programs do have 3 main goals. Goal number 1 is to teach your salespeople about different types of customers and how they interact, all of their needs, their buying motives, their buying habits. So this is a way so they can build relationships with those customers once they're actually selling to them. Goal number 2 is to teach them how to sell effectively and train them in the basics of the selling process. Step 3 is to teach them about the company, their objectives, the organization as a whole, the products they sell, and the strategies of their major competitors also. The compensation aspect, which is step number 4 in the sales force management, is the compensation has 4 elements. You have the fixed amount, variable amount, and you have expenses and fringe benefits. Then that takes us to supervising and motivating. So there are 2 goals of supervising and motivating. Supervising goal is to help your salespeople work smart, and your motivating goal is to encourage your salespeople to work hard. Then you have evaluation of your salespeople. So there are 3 types of reports that you can look at. The most important source, you'll often find these in weekly and monthly work plans, are sales reports. Then the other 2 types of reports are call reports and expense reports. And if you're wanting to kind of evaluate the sales force overall, you will look at the return on sales investment reports of your sales force. That takes us to social selling. So the definition of social selling is using online, mobile, and social media to engage customers, build stronger customer relationships, and augment sales performance. So this is basically just using exciting ways to draw customers in and keep them coming back. So there are some advantages and drawbacks or disadvantages of social selling for your sales force. So some advantages are it is more efficient, it's cost effective, and it is productive. Some drawbacks are it's not cheap. Although it is cost effective, you get your money's worth, it's not cheap to do. And then also certain topics are hard to explain and display over the internet. It's hard to get your point across when you're not in person selling. Then that takes us to the personal selling process. So this process is transaction oriented, and we'll go through each step. So step 1 is prospecting and qualifying. So this is when you're going to identify your potential customers, and then you have your pre-approach. So this is when your salesperson is trying to learn as much as possible about your prospective buyers before actually making a sales call. Then you have your approach, and this is when your salesperson will actually meet the customer for the first time. Then you have your presentation and demonstration, and so this is when your salesperson kind of tells the value story of the product to the buyer and showing how the company's offer will solve all of the customer's problems. Then you have handling objections. So this is when your salesperson will kind of seek out and clarify any customer objections they have to buying your product. And then the closing step is the sales step in which the salesperson asks the customer to kind of place an order. So to kind of not awkwardly do this, you can just offer to help write up the order, ask maybe, do you want this model or do you want this one, just to kind of get the ball rolling on that process. Then you have your last step in the process, which is the follow-up step. So this is when your salesperson follows up after the sale to ensure that the customer is satisfied, make sure the customer knows they're valued, and resolve any issues that they may have had. So then we are at the second half of our chapter, which is sales promotion. So sales promotion definition is short-term incentives to encourage the purchase or sale of a product or a service. So these are just things that you can do to kind of help promote your item or product. So these promotion tools that we'll go over in the next few slides are directed towards final buyers, retailers and wholesalers, business customers, and members of the sales force. So some objectives of the sales promotions. Consumer promotions, the objectives are to urge short-term customer buying, boost customer brand engagement. Trade promotions, you're going to want your retailers to carry new items and more inventory. You're going to want them to buy ahead. You're going to want them to promote your company's products, and you're going to want them to give you more shelf space. And then for business promotions, your objectives are to generate business leads, stimulate purchases, reward customers, and motivate your salespeople. And then for the sales force, those objectives include increasing support for current or new products and getting your salespeople to sign new accounts. So let's get into the actual promotion tools that you have for each promotion. So consumer promotions include samples, coupons, refunds, and premiums. This also includes like point of purchase displays to kind of create contests, sweepstakes, and event sponsorships. And then event marketing also falls under consumer promotions. So then trade promotions, those include contests, premiums, displays, discounts, allowances, free goods, or specialty advertising items. And then for your business promotions, you have conventions, trade shows, sales contests, and more. And then the last thing we will go over is how to develop a sales promotion program. So there are 5 steps, and these steps are to 1, determine the size of your incentive. So having a minimum incentive is necessary to succeed, and the larger the incentive is, the more involvement in the promotion you will have. And then step 2 is to set the conditions for the participation. So who is it going to be offered to? Do you have to be a certain age? Do you have to live in a certain area? Things like that. And then step 3 is to determine how to promote and distribute your promotion. So will you be giving it out in packages? Will you be advertising it on television? Will it be on your website? Will you advertise at the store? Things like that. How will you get the word out about your promotion? And then determining the length of the promotion. So if it's too short, many people will miss it. And if it's too long, customers won't feel the urge to act fast and act now for your promotion. And then lastly, you have your evaluation. So a common way to do this is to compare sales before, during, and after the promotion. And some questions to ask yourself about this to evaluate is, did the promotion attract new customers, and did previous customers return for new purchases? And so this kind of wraps up chapter 13, all about personal selling and sales promotions.